Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Ljs Garage. Behind me is a 2020 BMW M340i. BMW says this is the sports sedan for those that are really power hungry. So stay tuned, we're going to find out exactly what that means today. So I'm going to take you guys on a little tour of the outside, hop on the inside, and take it for a spin. And we're going to talk a little bit about this controversial issue of putting an M badge on a non-M car. So this generation of the 3 Series is called the G20, and it looks really good. BMW is going for that M style, so it's inspired by M, but it's not quite an M car. So there's a couple things that differentiate this from the 4-cylinder variant of the 3 Series. This color is going to be black sapphire metallic. BMW does a really good job with their paints, their colors, everything always looks good, and you honestly can't ever go wrong with a black car. So normally I would start at the front of the car, but something caught my attention, and it's these side mirrors. This color right here, I believe it's pronounced cerium gray. It can be found throughout this car, and especially prominent on the grille and these side mirrors. The one thing that I gotta say though is it doesn't really look like a gray at all. It almost looks more of like a bronze, a copper kind of color, with a little bit of hues and filters and saturations thrown in there. These are also heated and they do fold. Because this is inspired by an M car, you get 19-inch wheels, and the 19-inch wheels aren't the standard. Normally you get 18s, and you can choose from a couple different variations of spokes and colors and all of those good things. Behind the wheels, you'll actually see this M Sport caliper, and of course it's gonna be M Sport blue. And as you can see, there's a little trend here. Not only is that the only M Sport thing, you also get an M Sport suspension. Something I want to point out is that there is a cooling and high performance tire package that BMW offers. It's $1,500, and what that gives you is it gives you another oil cooler, a larger fan, and you get a couple different more options for your wheels. So this is my favorite view of the 3 Series, especially with this new redesigned front end. And honestly, this is the grille that they should use moving forward, but for some reason, you know, we may end up getting some weird, crazy, hexagonal, octagonal type grille, and I don't know if BMW understands that they are in the right direction with this, so why completely change it and do something crazy? Either way, up front you get these cool LED headlights, and they do swivel in their cornering and all that fun stuff is typical BMW fashion. You do get these active shutters that are right on the front grille, so they close and open, improve fuel economy, all of that good stuff. Allows the engine to warm up to max operating temp a little bit faster, and other than that, looks are subjective, so it's up to you to decide if you think that looks really good. LJ thinks this is a 2 thumbs up. They did a great job on this redesign. It should be no surprise that this has the glorious B58, which is the glorious, you know, inline 6 turbo, twin power scroll BMW beast of a motor that makes 382 horsepower. It's the same one that can be found in the Toyota Supra. This beast makes 382 horsepower, 369 foot-pounds of torque, and if you get the rear-wheel drive version, you do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds or 4.1 for the all-wheel drive. The only transmission option, unfortunately, is the 8-speed automatic, which does a really good job. We'll talk about that in a later part of the video. And then, actually, before we move forward, the Xdrive is only a $2,000 different from the rear-wheel drive. So honestly, if you can afford the extra $2,000, I would say go with the Xdrive. Before we talk about the back end of this car, I want to give you guys the miles per gallon. So 30 on the highway, 22 in the city, and it's got about a 15.6 gallon tank. So just like the front end, this redesigned back end is very different from the F30 style. They've done just enough of a tweak to kind of make you turn heads and say, whoa, what's different about this 3 Series? Well, I'll tell you about this one, and you'll see that there's got this M Sport spoiler lip thing. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really count as a spoiler. It's just a little lip. I don't really know if it makes a huge difference. I can't really tell it's there. Honestly, if I didn't know that that was an additional option, I probably wouldn't even know it was there. So then you've got your M340i, and as you can see, you've got this M. I like to call these M cars like the half M's. They're not fully M, and so they don't get only like that much. They get the 340i, so you know that it's more than a regular 3 Series, but it's not quite an M. And that's okay, because this is a badass car. Moving down south, you'll see you kind of have this kind of cool styled rear diffuser, and then you've got your dual tips, and honestly, they sound so good. Since you guys can see, special thank you Auto Haus BMW for providing this 3 Series. Now let's take a look down inside the cargo area. If you're familiar with the F30 series, you'll realize that it's pretty much identical. Not much has changed back there. They did a good job of making this a little compact sedan, but it's super practical. And I don't know about you guys, I know everyone's going towards SUVs and pickup trucks and all that, but I still love a sedan, especially a sporty sedan that can carry my groceries, the kids, the dog, the wife, whatever you got. Just throw it all in there, have some fun, blow the doors off some Priuses, and have a good time. Something that I really love that BMW is doing is they're taking a lot of the features found on their top end cars and they're moving it down the chain. And so now you've got the keyless access, not only on the front, but also on the rear passenger doors. All right, as you can see, I'm in the back seat. It's really, really cold, so I'm gonna try to hurry up so I can move to the front and get those heated seats going. So in the back, you've got rear climate control vents. You've also got 2 USB Type-C charging ports, lights, and that is about it. And cargo nets behind the doors, cup holders, all that, really nothing else to it. As you can see, no surprise, folding seats. These nice seats right here are 14-way adjustable. And as you can see, you've got the M340i. BMW decided to go the traditional route, and now you've got your door locks on the actual door. It's finally time to get inside this car and get warm. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is this heated, awesome M Sport steering wheel. You've got your traditional audio controls, you've got your cruise control settings here, and then you've got your heated steering wheel button, which is nice because BMW used to hide those back here. And so it's nice to finally have it right here directly on the wheel. No questions asked, easy to find. Fun fact for you guys, BMW calls the seats inside of the Sensatech, and it's this material that's made of recycled things, and it's basically what their old leatherette used to be, but now it's a little bit better, a little bit different. They gave it a new name, so I guess that makes it a little bit better, but it feels good, and I kind of like what they've done with the interior. If you've been in any BMW, this should look kind of familiar, but a little bit more modern. You've got your normal dial right here, which is awesome, and you can actually write on that pad right there. Your shifter is a little bit different. Instead of your P button for park being up here, they've now moved it here. You've got your electronic emergency brake right there, and then your different drive modes. And then on top of that, your cool new start stop engine button right there. And then you can actually turn off your auto stop start function itself using that button. A lot of other auto reviewers will say that this interior for BMW is not as good as Audi and Mercedes. I think that's again subjective. BMW does a great job. I don't know if anyone that's going to come inside of this cockpit and feel out of place and say that they hate certain things. Overall, it's really, really good. It's typical BMW. They just keep working with the style that's worked for them in the past and just making it that much better. So I'll talk about a couple more specific features, and that'll pretty much be it for the interior. BMW's done a really good job of adding like an aluminum touch to a lot of these options in here. So your climate controls have a new little digital screen, and then you've got these new aluminum buttons, but pretty much everything is in a standard place where if you've been in any BMW, you kind of know. This is all touchscreen. So you can go here, go to your music collection, do all that. You do have Apple CarPlay. Actually, before we get any further, Apple CarPlay. I'm glad that BMW finally gave you Apple people your Apple CarPlay, but when are they going to give us Android folks our Android Auto? And on top of that, I'm finally glad that they're rethinking this decision to charge people for Apple CarPlay, because $80 a year? Are you out of your mind, BMW? I'm going to talk about safety features really quick. If you push this little green guy right there, you'll see that you've got a couple different settings. You can go to configure individual, and it'll give you more of a breakdown of what driving options you have as far as safety goes. You got your front collision mitigation, lane departure warnings, active blind spot monitoring. All of that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, BMW doesn't give you all of that as standard. So there's different packages, different levels of safety. For example, you have to pay about $1,500 if you want the active lane keep and you want collision avoidance to where it mitigates that and actually stops you from doing things and works your brakes. There's a lot of different things and a lot of different packages on this car that if you aren't careful and you start pricing it and building and packaging and adding more things, you could end up in M4 or M3 territory very, very quick. Even over here, you'll see BMW did just a little bit of a different thing than they used to do with their headlight controls. So still automatic headlights, automatic high beams, all those things are really, really cool. So I got my notes here because I wrote down a couple things that I want to talk about. Kind of irks me, and I wish BMW, I know I get it, a la carte, build your car the way you want. So a couple different packages. The first one's going to be the premium package, $1,400 option. You get heads-up display, heated front seats, and a heated steering wheel. I don't know if that's worth it, but I would still do it anyways. Okay, so maybe it's worth it. And then there's the $2,100 executive package. You get the parking assistant plus, and then you get laser lights. Oh yeah, lasers. Then you get $250 for ambient lighting. I would definitely do that because ambient lighting in these cars, superb. On top of that, we've got the driver assistance package. That's $500, and that gives you a lot of those features I just talked about right there. That one is definitely worth it. You have to have that, especially if you're gonna buy one of these in 2020. Why would you not? The next thing is the driver assistance pro package, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, and that's the one that actually saves your life, and the car actually does more to prevent you from getting into accidents. That's $1,700 for that option. Next up is the parking assistant plus package, and that one's $900, and that's where you can actually do the surround 360 view. It helps you parallel park, a couple other things that it can do, and that one is, again, $900. So once you start adding all of these up, your $50,000, $54,000 car now ends up being easily $65,000, $69,000. And so you got to kind of be a little careful, and it's a really good deal if you can find one of these certified pre-owned. Definitely jump on that. But even if you do buy one brand new, fully loaded, like I said, you're getting into M3, M4 territory. So you got to pick. This is really close to being that fully M car, but not quite all the way. Take a look at this updated digital dash, and you'll see this on almost all of the new BMWs nowadays. And it's a really, really cool design. Everything works well. Ignore the tire pressure lights. That's part of being in the Midwest. We all have one of those on right now. So there's a lot of configurable things. You can do your maps, you can do your speedometer, you can do your tach, you can do sport displays, all sorts of cool things. Very customizable, very nice, and a pleasure to have on these newer BMWs. So this backup camera is so much better than the last generation, and I didn't really think it could get better. As you can see, there is a nice shiny blue Ljs M3 in high quality. Something to mention is that there is a package, and it allows you to have the adaptive suspension, and so then you can do all the cool things to make everything sporty. As you guys heard in this exhaust clip, there is a difference between economy mode and sport plus, or even just the regular sport mode. I call sport plus snap, crackle, pop. And if you guys want more information on any of the features that I pointed out, go ahead and check out my X3 video. I'll link that in the description below. One of the funny things is they're still doing that seatbelt adjustment thing. So as soon as you get in, you strap your seatbelt on, and then it pulls you and hugs you tight so that it knows exactly how much tension is needed to keep you safe. This thing, as sporty as it is, the one complaint that I've got to say is that you feel a little bit disconnected from the road still. And I really honestly think it's just a lot of us getting used to electronics power steering. But once we get used to the electronic power steering, we kind of get past it, and you realize that wherever you tell the car to go, it'll go, and it's still happening. It just doesn't give you that feedback to make you feel extra confident. But when you're looking at things, it's kind of like playing an Xbox. You don't really get that feedback, but you're still telling the car where to go. You're still a good driver in Forza, but you're just missing that connection. And so I don't know if that'll ruin the experience for a lot of people. It definitely isn't ruining it for me. And it may just be because coming from the M3 to this, I'm just kind of used to the electronic power steering feel. Driving this thing in comfort mode and economy pro feels pretty good. Very squishy, very soft. I don't really want to drive in that. And you can actually do a trick where you double tap the sport mode, I've heard, and that makes it so that every time you start the car, it'll stay in sports mode, which is kind of cool. I kind of dig it. And of course, acceleration. I'm gonna try a little pull here this is in comfort mode. Oh man, this thing feels good. I won't lie to you guys, it's a lot of fun. And with the Xdrive, I said 4.1 0 to 60 compared to the M3, that's 3.9 seconds rear wheel drive. So many of us won't be able to tell the let's do some math here, 0.3 difference in speed, but realistically it's there, so you could brag about it if you care about that 0.3 difference. Did I do my math right?
That's 0.1.
3.9 and 4.1. Anyways, I'm a car guy, not a mathematician, so you guys can keep the complex math to yourselves. And I'm just gonna drive this car fast because that's what I do. The next thing I want to talk about, this driving lane keep assistance thing. If you're trying to drive spiritedly, I really recommend turning it off. I've been on some on-ramps and I've been trying to get into some turns and taking it around some back roads, and this thing will fight you, and it's very dangerous. I don't know if BMW knows that, yes, they're trying to keep you safe, because if you were to go out of the line, it brings you right back. But when you're trying to get to on the line and just kind of ride that a little bit, it doesn't let you. It doesn't want you to do that. So be sure to turn that off. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting the car doing this all day, and it gets very sketchy. I'm going to go through a roundabout, and then after I get through this roundabout, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try out sport mode. I've already tried it out because, like I said, I only drive in sport mode. Sport Plus is a little dramatic. It's what's the word I'm looking for? I'll just leave it as just dramatic. You don't really need to do all that, but you go to sport, and you can feel the throttle response increase. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I almost killed you. But other than almost killing your passengers, it's so much fun. And I mean, I really don't know how else to say it's so much fun without just letting you guys know. It sounds amazing, it feels good, and you can really get on it. It's kind of got that little two-stage pedal, so the first initial push is really not much. Then you really floor it, it downshifts just right. And again, this is an 8-speed ZF transmission. If you've driven any of the F30s, it's the same transmission brought forward, because it's fantastic. This thing crackles and pops like no other, and I think this is kind of the new sound that we're all gonna come to love. All right, I'm in manual mode. It's kind of dark, but I'm gonna get on it. Oh my Lord. I can't legally tell you how fast I was going, but let's just say this thing gets up to speed quick fast. The thing I forgot to mention is that this has launch control. It's kind of a standard thing on cars nowadays, even if they're not the sportiest or anything. Launch control is just cool, it's just fun, it's a little gimmick, which is crazy to think that a few years ago, that wasn't something you'd think would be a very gimmicky thing, but cars having launch control is fun to show your friends. Oh man, I don't know, there's so much to say about this car. I don't have enough time. So all I gotta say is drive one, enjoy one, and if you can afford it, you won't be disappointed. BMW makes the ultimate driving machine, and this is no exception. It almost makes me want to give up my M3, because this is a perfect daily. I see no complaints, or I have no complaints. I really love this thing. So thank you guys again for checking out yet another episode in LJ's Garage.